Hello, Booktube. Testing, 1, 2. Is this thing on? Is this thing on? Testing, 1, 2. I hope it's on. I hope this thing on. Got the mic on, so let's try here. Hey YouTube, the American Samurai, back in with the comic review. Today we're talking about Wham Wham Comics issues 2. Yeah. Wham Comics issue 2. Starring Blue Fire. It says 8 comic stories, including 2 featuring Blue Fire, which I think this is the first time that the main character gets both a text and a comic story, because they didn't do this for Craig Carter. It's also the last issue of Wham Comics. Let's go into the story. So we start with the first story, which is the origin for Blue Fire. Now, it's interesting here, it says Blue Fire is a young American, which immediately makes me think of the song, who spends his time in his lab making and drinking the chemicals he mixes. Yeah, not a hobby I would recommend. Created by glue glance. He's caught an explosion that gives him his powers. Should be noted, I think he... Yeah, he had the one here before the experiment. After he get caught in the experiment, he decides he gains the powers of, he gets the Blue Fire, which gives him the power to walk through walls. So he's going to use that power to fight crime, as you do. And that's where we meet his nemesis, Frost. So reading about the paper, he decides that the sabotage thing is going to be his first case. Apparently his father has some sort of swing, so he's able to go investigate the ship. We never meet Blue Fire's father. Then we meet Frost, who we discovered that his pill is the catalyst for transformation. And that's where we meet Frost. And then we learn that Frost and Blue Fire can't touch each other because of their powers. Blue Fire escapes, comes back, and they get away. It says they'll continue their fight, and actually they do get to continue their fight in a text story, but they never actually get a second comic story. Then we have Solar, from Saturn to Earth. So Solar is like this super scientific hero with a Yoda master. Apparently going to destroy us at a moment's notice, but he decides that we have so much good as well as evil that he's going to send his student to save us. So Solar Man comes down to Earth, gets shot to Earth by a cannon, by the old Jules Verne story. And tracks down a gangster, yeah. All this power, and he decides that he's gonna have his agent track down a gangster. Because it's the 1940s. And the most terrifying thing he can do is send his agent to go kill a gangster. Or to hunt down a gangster. Well, she does succeed. Now you get our first returning feature. We get the Sparkler. If you remember this, he was in the first issue. And the Sparkler has a suit that makes him invisible. When he reappears, his suit sends off a sparkling light that essentially heralds his appearance. It doesn't blind anyone, it just kind of shows, I'm here. Fear me. I'm pretty sure that actually, if he was brought back in modern day, I'm assuming that it would kind of be like a solar flare for DBZ fans, where it would blind his opponents and allow him to drop on them. So essentially, Sparkler gets a note and gets sent to the FBI by J. Edgar Hoover Stanton. Apparently, he was a friend of the son of the director of and gets sent on a mission. And goes on an adventure and ends up being his arch nemesis. The Queen or something. I guess it's supposed to be his version of Catwoman. I'm assuming she's supposed to escape him at some point or join with him. I don't know. They're supposed to be like a romantic thing that she's the lead of these smugglers, and I don't know. Next up, we have the Buzzard. If you've watched the short, all the here. And the Buzzard's interesting because he's a legacy character in his own comic. Essentially, you get the hint that the mayor was the Buzzard before him, and he's passing that legacy to him. And the only other person who doesn't know he's the Buzzard is him and his daughter. Essentially, the Buzzard now is the police chief's son. It's a fun adventure. If you want to see the full story, watch the short, hosted by Groucho. Then we get our second Blue Fire story, which is a text story. And this one we find out that Blue Fire himself actually has a catalyst now. As he's taking the liquid and put it in the thermos. We also meet Cold's sidekick. And once again, Cold gets away. Then we have Lloyd Hunter. Fights him outside. And his gimmick is a special... He gets a specialized radio at the end of the story that allows him to hear the thoughts of the men. So sometimes he's a knockoff version of the Avenger radio version. It says, he comes back with a receiver. He never does. All these are one and done. Sparkle Larry Radio News Hawk. Essentially, he's a radio guy who helps the police with his radio, and nothing special there. A lot of these characters, after them, all wear blue suits. I think they should just let Craig Carter with his blue suit, and everyone else would have a different color suit. Would make things a little easier to understand. Then we have Jeff Tinker, who's a writer for Hollywood, who writes horror and thriller movies. But when he's going to throw his own, it's St. Dave's Holiday. Apparently there's this gang of hoodlums. They break in, try and threaten him. His secretary managed to drop on them and take $4,000. They're hiding. This bad guy shows up and they manage to beat him with the police. And yeah, there's no supernatural element. The guy actually is called Satan. Then we get the return of our last returning character, Craig Carter. These bad guys was interesting because it does actually have continuity. Zeus actually appeared in a nightclub because his fiance twisted his ring, and that makes the papers. So these bad guys find out about the ring. They call in their friend who's a Hindi magician, and they kidnap Craig Carter's girlfriend. Interestingly, the ring gets upgraded here because it says God, ancient gods and heroes. He summons 3 gods in this story. He summons Thor finally, because he did mention Thor in the previous story. We get Zeus, our old friend, back again. More kindly, friendly Zeus. And we get, of course, the mighty Thor. Different version than the Marvel version. And Pluto. It hints that Pluto might become like a regular nemesis for at least one story, because he kind of just, after being summoned, kind of just goes on his own. Doesn't go back to the ring. And since that they're kind of trapped in the ring, as Thor takes 2 bad guys back in the ring with him, don't know whether they would have become heroes and being able to be summoned out of the ring at will. It never tells you. Anyways, Carter gets his girlfriend back, and it hints that if the story continued, he would have had to face Pluto. Maybe Pluto have recruited some bad guys, maybe like his own little gang or something. I don't know. I hope that's what would happen, because it would have been fun to see that happening. But we just don't know. Anyways, overall, interesting comic. I give it a 3 out of 5. Alright, comment, subscribe, hit that bell icon if you're new. I'll see you next time right here on Booktube 49.